The desert winds howled across the empty valley, carrying dust and the faint smell of ancient stone. The twin suns were sinking behind broken cliffs, painting the alien sky in colors no human had words for. Eli Grant, a young human archaeologist from Earth, stood before the entrance of a forgotten alien temple buried under centuries of sand. His boots crunched on strange glass-like soil as he stared at the giant door carved with symbols that glowed faintly in the twilight. The locals had warned him not to enter. They spoke of a sleeping queen, a being cursed by the gods themselves, sealed in stone for eternity. But Eli had never believed in curses. He only believed in history, discovery, and adventure. He was alone now, his alien guide refusing to follow him past the valley. "The sleeping queen wakes only for fools," the guide had said before fleeing. Eli just laughed and carried on, brushing sand from his equipment and turning on his wrist light. The moment he stepped inside, the air changed. It felt thick, heavy, and alive. The walls were covered in glowing veins of blue light, pulsing slowly like the heartbeat of some slumbering beast. The silence pressed on him as he walked deeper. Statues of alien warriors lined the corridor, each carved with lifelike precision, their faces locked in eternal watchfulness. Eli recorded everything with his small camera drone, speaking softly into his recorder. "Structure seems intact." "Carvings older than any known record," he murmured. Finally, he reached the inner chamber. It was vast, circular, and filled with a soft golden glow. And there at the center stood the statue. She was beautiful. The figure of an alien woman stood twice his height, her skin made of shimmering silver stone that reflected the light like liquid metal. Her features were delicate yet powerful, eyes half closed as if dreaming. Her long hair flowed behind her in frozen waves, and her hands were folded near her chest. She looked so real that Eli almost expected her to breathe. "The sleeping queen," he whispered, stepping closer. Her name was written at the base in an ancient language, one he barely recognized. "Lisara." He smiled. "So you're the one they feared." He circled her slowly, admiring the craftsmanship. No scanner could find tool marks on the surface. It was too perfect. It didn't seem carved at all, but formed by will itself. And for some reason, her expression seemed different from the other statues. There was sorrow in her eyes. He stopped in front of her again, studying the faint glow at her chest. His curiosity itched. The glowing line pulsed once like a heartbeat. "How strange," he said softly. Then without thinking, without fear, he reached out and touched her. Or rather, he poked her chest playfully with one finger. A spark of light exploded under his fingertip. He jumped back, startled. "What the—" The glow spread, racing across the statue's body like veins of lightning. The entire chamber began to tremble. Dust fell from the ceiling. Eli stumbled backward, his heart hammering as the statue's eyes opened, bright, golden, alive. A soft gasp escaped the statue's lips. Then she moved. Her hand shot forward and grabbed his wrist, warm, firm, real. Eli froze. The touch sent a strange hum through his arm, like electricity mixed with heartbeat. The stone was no longer cold. It was soft skin. Her silver color faded into pale, living flesh that shimmered faintly under the golden light. Her eyes met his, eyes older than time itself. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft, yet echoed through his mind as though the temple itself spoke with her. "You woke me." "Human." Eli could not breathe. He tried to pull his hand away, but her grip tightened gently, not to hurt but to make him listen. Her gaze held him still. The ground shook harder now. Strange symbols flared on the walls, spinning in patterns of light. He swallowed hard. "Who are you?" The woman stepped down from the pedestal with grace that defied gravity. Her long silver hair flowed as though underwater. "I am Lisara," she whispered, her voice trembling as if she had not spoken in ages. "Queen of the First Empire. Prisoner of the ancients." He didn't understand, but her sadness pierced through words. The golden glow faded to a cold blue as she looked around the chamber, pain flashing in her eyes. "So much time has passed," she said. "Even the stars have forgotten me." Eli took a step back, realizing what he had done. "I didn't mean to wake you. I thought you were a statue?" She finished, her lips curving into a faint, sorrowful smile. That was the curse. To sleep until the touch of one who carries the lost blood of men. He frowned, confusion mixing with fear. "What do you mean?" But before she could answer, a loud crack echoed through the temple. The entrance slammed shut with a wave of energy. The walls pulsed brighter, and deep rumbling footsteps echoed from beyond. Something else was waking too. Lysara's eyes narrowed. She turned to him, her voice now sharp and commanding. "You broke the seal that bound me," she said. "And now the Guardians will rise." Eli felt his chest tighten as the floor split open, revealing glowing red eyes below. His breath caught. "Guardians?" "Yes," she said quietly, her glowing hand reaching for his once more. "Run, human. You woke a queen, but you also woke her jailers." And with that, the temple roared to life and their escape began. The ancient temple shook around them, filling the air with a thunder that came from beneath the stone. Eli stumbled as dust and debris rained down, clutching the alien queen's hand. Her grip was firm, warm, and alive, too real to be a dream. The once silent statues that lined the corridor now glowed with angry red light, their eyes blazing like fire. "What's happening?" Eli shouted over the roar. Lysara's voice was calm, but her golden eyes shimmered with fear. "The Guardians. They were bound to my curse. When I wake, they awaken too." Massive cracks split across the chamber floor as metal and stone figures began to rise, their bodies fused with alien technology, weapons unfolding from their arms. Their mechanical growls echoed as they turned their glowing eyes toward Lysara and Eli. "Move," she ordered, pulling him toward a side passage. Her movements were fast, almost too graceful, her feet barely touching the ground. Eli followed, his breath burning in his chest as they sprinted through narrow halls filled with flashing lights and falling stone. One of the Guardians roared behind them, launching a blast of red energy that scorched the walls. The shockwave threw Eli forward, scraping his arm, but Lysara caught him before he fell. For a moment he saw something strange in her eyes. Concern. "You're bleeding," she whispered. Her voice trembled slightly. Eli shook his head. "I've had worse," he said, trying to smile even as fear crept into his voice. "Just tell me there's a way out of here." She looked toward the distant end of the corridor where faint daylight filtered through cracks. "There is," she said, "but we must reach it before the temple seals again. If it closes, we'll be trapped for eternity." They ran again. Every step echoed through the massive alien halls. The air grew colder as they passed through ancient doorways covered in symbols that glowed faintly at Lysara's touch. Her presence seemed to awaken the whole structure, as if the temple itself recognized her return. As they moved, Eli's curiosity grew stronger than his fear. "You said you were a queen," he said between gasps. "Queen of what exactly?" She didn't answer at first. Her face turned away, her silver hair glowing faintly in the dim light. "Of an empire long dead," she said finally. "My people ruled 1,000 worlds before time forgot their names. I was their guardian, until I disobeyed the gods who made us." "The gods?" Eli repeated, struggling to keep up. "You mean actual gods?" She looked at him sharply, her eyes glowing like molten gold. "To your kind, perhaps not. To us, they were the creators, pure energy, beings without flesh. They gave us life, and took it away when we defied them." Eli felt a chill run down his spine. "And they turned you into stone?" Lysara nodded. "They called it mercy. Eternal sleep instead of eternal death." She paused, her expression heavy with regret. "They feared the prophecy, that one day a human's touch would break the seal and awaken the queen who dreamed." Eli blinked. "A human? How could they know about humans?" Her gaze softened. "Because your kind was born from us." Before he could ask more, another explosion shook the hall. The Guardians were closing in, their steps shaking the ground. Lysara raised her hand and golden light erupted from her palm, forming a shield that blocked another blast. Energy crackled through the air, sending heat waves across Eli's face. He stared at her in awe. "You can fight them?" "Not for long," she said through clenched teeth. "My strength is weak. Centuries of sleep have drained me." The shield flickered as she fell to one knee, gasping. Eli didn't think. He grabbed her arm, pulling her up. "Then lean on me. Let's get out of here." Her golden eyes met his again. Something changed in her expression, an emotion deeper than fear. "Gratitude, maybe. You would help me even after what I've done?" she whispered. Eli half smiled. "You haven't done anything wrong to me yet. Besides, I started this mess. Might as well finish it." She stared at him for a moment longer, then nodded. Together they pushed forward through a final corridor. The sound of pursuit grew louder behind them. One Guardian leapt through the air, landing just meters away. Its eyes blazed as it raised an arm to fire. Eli froze, but Lysara moved faster. She stretched out her hand and unleashed a wave of light so bright it blinded him. When his vision cleared, the guardian lay shattered, its body melted into molten stone. Lysara fell to her knees, trembling. Eli rushed to her side. "Are you okay?" She looked weak but managed to speak. "My power. Fading." He helped her to her feet, supporting her as they finally reached the exit. They stepped into the open desert just as the temple doors slammed shut behind them with a deep boom. The wind howled again, carrying silence back to the valley. For a long moment, neither spoke. The two suns were higher now, bathing the sand in red light. Then Lysara looked at him, her voice soft and almost broken. "You should not have touched me, human. The moment you did, our fates were bound." Eli frowned, wiping the dust from his face. "Bound how?" Her gaze drifted toward the horizon, where storm clouds were gathering unnaturally fast. "My awakening brings balance to no one," she whispered. "The world will remember me as a curse, and now, you are part of it too." The wind carried her words into silence, and for the first time, Eli wondered if waking her had truly been a discovery, or the beginning of the end. The sky above them had turned strange. Dark red clouds twisted like living smoke, and the ground pulsed faintly beneath their feet as if the planet itself was breathing. Eli and Lysara stood on the windswept dunes, the ancient temple now half buried again behind them. The silence that followed their escape was not peace, it was a warning. Eli's breathing was heavy, sand sticking to his face. "You said, the world will remember you as a curse," he said, watching the sky darken even more. "What does that mean?" Lysara's golden eyes shimmered in the red light. "It means my awakening is a signal. The balance of this world depends on my slumber. When I rise, the old systems wake with me, the storms, the machines, the watchers." She raised her hand, and in the far distance, massive structures glowed under the sand, ancient towers stirring after thousands of years. This world was built to contain me, not to keep me safe. Eli frowned. "So if you live, this planet dies?" She looked down, her silver hair moving in the wind. Yes, Eli fell silent. He stared at the ground, trying to process it all. He had always dreamed of finding something big, proof of the first galactic civilization. But this was more than history. He'd woken a being tied to destruction. "We can fix it," he said finally, stubbornness flashing in his eyes. "If there's a curse, there must be a way to undo it." Lysara looked at him for a long moment. Her expression softened, almost amused. "You speak like the ancient heroes of my time." "Brave, foolish, and full of hope." Eli shrugged. "Hope's all I've got, and you're standing right here, so there's still a chance." She almost smiled, but then her face turned serious again. "The curse is older than your species, human. It is written in the energy that made me. Then we rewrite it," he said quietly. "Together." For a moment their eyes met, and the wind fell still as if the planet itself was listening. But before either could speak, the ground trembled violently. A beam of blue light shot into the sky from one of the awakening towers in the distance. Then another. Then 5 more. The storm clouds split open with thunder. Lysara turned toward the lights. "The Watchers have awakened," she said, her voice tense. "They were created to destroy any who break the seal. They will come for me, and for you." Eli clenched his jaw. "Then we'd better move." They hurried toward a ridge of black rock that rose above the dunes. Every few moments, explosions of light cracked the sky, distant thunder following each one. The sandstorm grew thicker, forcing Eli to cover his face with his arm. Lysara moved ahead, barely slowed by the wind. Her body glowed faintly with a golden aura that shielded them both. When they finally reached the ridge, Eli collapsed behind a boulder, catching his breath. "We can't keep running forever," he said. "We need a plan." Lysara knelt beside him. "There might be one. Deep in the ruins of my capital lies the core of memory. It was designed to contain my essence before I was cursed. If we reach it, perhaps it can reverse the link between my life and this planet's decay." "Sounds good," Eli said between breaths. "Where is it?" She pointed toward the horizon where the red storm glowed brightest. "Far north, across the plains of glass." He stared in that direction, realizing it could take days to reach on foot. "And I'm guessing there's no shortcut?" Her faint smile returned. "If there were, the gods would have destroyed it long ago." As she spoke, a loud metallic shriek echoed through the valley. Eli turned and saw it. A flying construct of steel and light shaped like a winged serpent tearing through the clouds. Its eyes glowed the same blue as the beams. "They found us," Lysara said quietly. "Fantastic. Eli muttered. The serpent dived, energy cannons charging. Lysara stepped forward and raised both hands. Golden energy spiraled from her palms, forming a shield that met the blast mid-air. The explosion shook the ridge, throwing Eli backward. When he looked up, Lysara was still standing, her aura flickering wildly. He rushed to her side. "You can't keep doing that." "I must," she gasped. "It's my fault this thing exists." Eli grabbed her arm. "You said the curse binds your power to destruction, right? Then stop using it. You'll only make things worse." She hesitated, her eyes searching his face. "Then what would you have me do, human? Stand here and let it destroy you?" He didn't flinch. "I'd rather die helping you than live running from your past." For a moment, her expression broke. The anger faded, replaced by something deeper. Pain, maybe even sorrow. She lowered her hand slowly, the light fading from her skin. The serpent circled again, roaring. Eli pulled out his plasma pistol, a tiny weapon compared to the beast. "Guess it's my turn," he fired, hitting one of its eyes. The creature screamed, spiraling down into the sand, flames and energy bursting around them. The explosion lit up the entire sky. When the smoke cleared, the desert was silent again. Eli stood panting, his hands shaking. "That actually worked." Lysara looked at him with quiet wonder. "You fight with such weakness," she said softly, "yet your spirit burns brighter than any I've known." He gave a tired grin. "I'll take that as a compliment." She stepped closer, her eyes studying him carefully. "You risked your life for me again. Why?" He looked back at her, sand whipping around them. "Because I woke you. And maybe because you're not what they said you were." For the first time, her expression softened completely. "You speak as if you know me," she whispered. "But you don't, not yet." Thunder rolled again, louder than before. More lights appeared on the horizon, dozens of blue glows moving in their direction. Lysara turned to face them. "The curse spreads. They won't stop until one of us is gone." Eli squared his shoulders beside her. "Then they'll have to go through both of us." The queen looked at him, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Perhaps. You really are the one I dreamed of." The storm roared above them as they began their long march into the crimson dusk, toward the ruins, toward answers, and toward whatever destiny had bound their souls together. The red storm followed them across the plains of glass, sweeping through the horizon like a living thing. The land stretched endlessly, an ocean of shining crystal sand that cut their boots and reflected the twin suns in a blinding shimmer. Every step left faint blue footprints behind, traces of Lysara's energy mixing with Eli's human warmth. The world seemed to watch them, silent but aware. They had walked for hours. The wind had grown weaker, but the air still hummed with strange vibrations. Ancient towers lay half-buried in the distance, their metallic bones jutting out like the remains of giants. Eli finally broke the silence. "You said something back in the temple," he began, his voice quiet. "You said humans were born from your people. What did you mean by that?" Lysara didn't answer right away. Her gaze was distant, her golden eyes reflecting the fading light. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "Try me," he said with a small grin, trying to ease the tension. "I've already seen stone statues come alive. My scale of belief is pretty flexible right now." For the first time in a while, she smiled faintly. "Very well, human. Long ago, before your world had a name, my empire stretched across galaxies. We were called the Alaran, beings of energy and matter. We shaped stars, built worlds, and created life as easily as you breathe. But our greatest pride became our greatest sin. We tried to make life that could live without us." Eli listened quietly as they walked, his eyes wide with fascination. "And that life was us?" She nodded slowly. "Humans were our creation. Designed to be simple, adaptable, unbound by power. You were meant to survive where we could not. We gave you curiosity, emotion, and resilience, traits we had long lost." Eli frowned. "If we were your creation, why don't we remember any of it? Why do humans on Earth think they're alone?" "Because," Lysara said softly, "we erased your memory. We scattered you across the stars after the Great Fall. When our gods turned against us, we tried to protect our last creation. You were hidden on a young world at the edge of the galaxy, free from our wars, free from our pride." He stopped walking, his boots crunching in the sand. "So humans are just an old alien experiment?" Her gaze turned sharp. "Not just an experiment. You were our redemption." Eli didn't know what to say. His chest felt heavy, as if he carried the weight of a truth humanity was never meant to hear. If what you're saying is true, he said slowly, then maybe this, he gestured between them, wasn't an accident. Lysara looked away, her expression unreadable. Perhaps not. When you touched me, I felt something ancient stir. It wasn't power, it was memory. She turned back toward him. You carry within you the spark of my people. You are of human flesh, but the essence that woke me was Ilaran. Eli's heart pounded. Wait, you're saying I have your blood? In a way, she said softly. You are descended from one who once loved an Ilaran queen. He froze. Loved? Her golden eyes met his. Yes, it was forbidden, but she loved a human, a worker from one of the colony worlds. Their union broke the laws of the gods. It was her defiance that started the war that destroyed our empire. The gods turned her to stone and cursed her descendants never to meet a human again. Eli's mouth went dry. And that queen was you. Lysara's silence was enough of an answer. The wind around them stilled as if time itself paused. Eli stared at her, his mind spinning. He had awakened her because his blood carried the echo of the one she had loved. It wasn't random. It was destiny written across eons. He exhaled slowly. So that's why the statue reacted to me, she nodded. You carry what they feared most, the bond between Ilaran and human. It was that bond that once gave birth to something neither divine nor mortal. Eli rubbed the back of his neck. You mean love? She tilted her head slightly as if testing the word. Love, she repeated softly, almost tasting it. Yes, that is what your kind calls it. For us it was something different, something powerful enough to defy gods. A faint rumble echoed through the desert. They both turned. In the distance, blue lights flickered again, more of the watchers rising from beneath the sand. They're tracking my energy, Lysara said, her calm voice breaking slightly. The more I speak of the past, the more the curse awakens. Eli grabbed her hand. Then let's move. You can tell me the rest later. She looked down at their joined hands, then back at him. You should not touch me so freely, human. My presence can burn you. He squeezed gently, refusing to let go. Maybe, he said with a grin, but it's better than freezing alone. Something flickered in her eyes, an emotion she tried to hide. You are reckless, she whispered. And you talk too much, he replied. For a moment, a quiet laugh escaped her lips, light as wind chimes. But before the sound faded, the desert trembled again. The watchers were coming fast, their mechanical roars shaking the ground. Lysara's face hardened. We're close to the memory core, she said. If we can reach it, I can try to break the curse before they reach us. Eli nodded. Then let's end this. They ran side by side through the glowing plains. Two figures against the storm, one born of stars, one born of earth, both bound by the same forbidden blood. As they vanished into the distance, the wind carried a whisper only the planet could hear. The bond returns. The prophecy breathes again. The night had fallen, but it wasn't dark. The alien sky above burned with thousands of glowing orbs. Some were stars, others machines. The ancient orbital ring known as the Trial of the Stars hovered above the planet like a silver halo, its segments slowly spinning, each one shining with blue and gold energy. From the desert below, it looked like a god's crown. Eli and Lysara stood at the edge of a vast canyon looking up at it. The ruins of the old Ilaran Empire surrounded them, broken towers, fallen ships, and fragments of forgotten glory. The ground trembled softly beneath their boots as the air shimmered with quiet power. Eli's voice broke the silence. That's it, isn't it? The core of memory you talked about? Lysara nodded. At the heart of the ring lies the core. It was made to hold the memories of every Ilaran who ever lived. It's the only place that still remembers what I was before the curse. He looked at her face. The glow of the alien moonlight gave her silver hair a halo of light. And if we reach it, you can break the curse? Perhaps, she said softly. But the trial was not meant to be entered by mortals. It tests those who seek truth. Even my people feared it, Eli gave a half smile. Guess we'll fit right in then. I'm great at doing things I shouldn't. For the first time in hours, she smiled, a brief, tired smile that made her seem almost human. You have courage, Eli Grant. That will help you inside. The wind grew cold as they reached a massive stone gate half buried in crystal sand. Alien runes glowed as Lysara raised her hand. The gate responded to her touch, humming with a deep vibration that echoed across the canyon. A beam of golden light shot upward, striking the sky. The ring above began to turn faster. Light descended like a staircase from the heavens, each step made of pure energy. Lysera looked at him. Once we enter, there's no turning back. Eli stared up at the glowing path. Good. I'm tired of running. They stepped into the beam and the world vanished. They emerged on a vast metallic platform high above the clouds. The Trial of the Stars surrounded them, a ring so huge it disappeared into the horizon. Floating structures drifted between beams of light. Strange whispers filled the air like the voices of forgotten souls. Eli looked around in awe. It's like standing inside a dream. This place is a dream, Lysera said softly. The dream of my people, preserved in code and light. As they walked forward, a figure appeared, tall, glowing, and without a face. It spoke in a voice that was not sound but pure thought. Queen Lysera, first of the Alaran, why have you returned? Lysera lowered her head. To end the curse. The curse was the price of defiance, the voice replied. You loved one not of your kind. You betrayed your gods, Eli stepped forward. She didn't betray anyone. She loved someone. That's not a crime. The figure turned toward him, its hollow face flickering. Human. The creation that was never meant to awaken. You carry the echo of forbidden blood. Eli clenched his fists. Then you know why I'm here. We're going to finish what she started. The air shimmered. 3 more figures appeared, circling them. Each one spoke with a different tone. Anger, sorrow, and warning. To end the curse, she must pass the trial, they said in unison. And the trial demands sacrifice. Eli looked at Lysera. What kind of sacrifice? Before she could answer, the ground beneath them shifted. The platform split into 3 glowing paths. The first burned with golden light. The second pulsed blue like a living heartbeat. The third shimmered red, filled with heat and energy. Lysera's expression darkened. They want us to walk separate paths. Each one tests the soul. Eli's jaw tightened. Then let's do it. But Lysera grabbed his arm, her touch trembling. No, Eli, you don't understand. If you fail, you die. He met her eyes, calm and steady. Then I'll just have to win. They separated, each taking a path. Eli's path led him into darkness. He walked through shifting corridors where echoes of his past whispered around him, his father's voice telling him to give up on dreams, the laughter of people who never believed in him. At the center of the hall, a mirror floated in midair. Inside the mirror, he saw himself, older, alone, defeated. A voice spoke. Would you trade her life for your own? He shook his head. Not a chance. The reflection smiled cruelly. Then you are doomed. The mirror shattered, flooding the room with blinding light. When it faded, Eli stood at the end of his path, breathing hard but alive. Lysera's trial was different. She stood in a hall of stars, surrounded by the memories of her people. She saw their faces, heard their voices, accusing, pleading, remembering. You broke the law, they said. You loved what was forbidden. Tears welled in her golden eyes. I loved because I was alive, she whispered. And I will love again, even if it ends the stars. The hall burst into light. They met again at the center of the ring, both exhausted but standing. The trial had judged them and passed them both. The faceless figures bowed their heads. The bond remains unbroken. The curse may now be lifted, but know this. One life must fade for the other to rise. Lysera turned to Eli, her expression filled with sorrow. It means one of us must die. Eli stepped closer. Then it'll be me. You've suffered long enough. Her hand rose to his face, trembling. No, it was my sin, not yours. The ground trembled again, and a beam of light formed between them, swirling with power. The trial had spoken. Their final choice awaited. And as the ring filled with light brighter than the stars themselves, one thought echoed in both their minds. Love had once started a war among gods. What would it cost this time? The trial of the stars trembled as beams of golden and blue light spiraled upward into the heavens. Eli shielded his eyes, feeling the ground beneath him hum with impossible energy. He could barely stand from exhaustion. The tests had drained every drop of strength. But Lysera still stood tall beside him, her silver hair flowing in waves of living light. The voices of the faceless beings echoed through the air like thunder and whispers combined. The bond has been proven. The forbidden love lives once more. The ancients awaken. Lysera's face turned pale. No, she whispered. They were not supposed to wake. Eli frowned, panting. The ancients? You mean your gods? Before she could answer, the sky cracked open. The stars flickered and the air turned heavy, pressing against his chest like a storm about to burst. From the broken edges of the orbital ring, immense shapes emerged, beings of pure energy, vast as cities, glowing in colors no human eye was meant to see. They had no form, no face, yet their presence burned into the mind. The ancients had returned. A voice rolled through the sky deeper than thunder. Lysera of the Alaran, your defiance echoes through eternity. You were given rest and yet you rise again. Lysara stepped forward, her eyes blazing gold. You call it rest. I call it punishment. I loved what you feared, and you turned that love into a curse. Another voice spoke, sharper, colder. You broke the balance. The Alaran were meant to ascend, not fall in love with their own creations. Eli clenched his fists. She didn't destroy anything, you did. You punished her for feeling something you couldn't understand. The beings turned their vast gaze upon him. Their light dimmed, studying the human who dared speak. And you, child of Earth. The forbidden bloodline survives within you. You are proof of her sin. The words hit him like a wave of ice. Her sin? He repeated, his voice trembling. You call it sin to care about someone? To fight for someone? You were made to serve, not to love. Eli's anger burned hotter than fear. Then you failed, because we do both. The ancient's light flared, shaking the ring itself. Lysara moved in front of him, spreading her arms. Enough, he is not your enemy. You made his kind to survive, and they did, even after you abandoned them. The ground cracked beneath their feet as the energy of the gods pressed harder. You cannot undo your curse, Lysera, one voice boomed. To exist is to destroy. You and this human cannot both live. The bond must be broken. Eli looked at her, his chest tight. They mean one of us has to die, don't they? She nodded slowly, her expression unreadable. They offer the same choice I once refused. He stepped forward, his jaw set. Then I'll make it easy. Take me. Leave her. Lysera turned sharply toward him. No. Her voice rang with such force that the air vibrated. You don't understand, Eli. If they take you, humanity dies with you. You are the last piece of my kind within them. You carry what they could not destroy. He blinked. You mean my blood? She nodded. Your existence is the bridge between two races. You are what I created and what they feared most. A beam of blue light descended from the sky, surrounding them both. The ancients' voices grew louder. Choose or the curse will consume all. The bond ends here. Lysera looked at Eli with tears glowing in her eyes. When I loved before, I chose myself over him. The universe burned because of it. She touched his cheek gently. I will not make the same mistake again. He shook his head, grabbing her hand. No, Lysera. There has to be another way. Her voice softened. There isn't, but there may be something better. She stepped closer, her palm pressed to his chest over his heart. The golden light spread between them, warm and alive. If our souls merge, the curse will have no target. We will become something new, something they cannot touch. Eli stared at her, realizing what she meant. You'll lose yourself. She smiled faintly. So will you, the ancients roared. You defy us again, Queen of the Alaran? Lysara raised her head high, her voice calm and strong. No. I set us free. The world exploded in light. Energy surged between them, gold and white intertwining, wrapping around their bodies. Eli felt his heart stop, then race faster than ever. He saw flashes, her memories, her laughter, her sorrow, her life as a queen among stars. And she saw his lonely childhood, his curiosity, his stubborn hope. Two lives, two worlds becoming one. The ancients screamed, their forms twisting as the power of the bond tore through them. Their light fractured, fading into dust. As the brilliance dimmed, the massive ring shattered into fragments that drifted silently into space. The storm cleared. The sky turned calm again. When the light faded, only one figure stood where Eli and Lysera had been. It was neither fully human nor fully alien, a being of soft gold light, eyes glowing with both blue and amber. The merged soul of Eli and Lysera opened its eyes to the quiet sky. I am not your curse, it whispered softly, its voice both male and female. I am your evolution. The remaining energy of the ancients faded into the stars. The being looked toward the horizon where the world slowly began to heal. Rivers glowing. Wind gentle again. Somewhere deep inside, Eli's voice whispered, We did it, and Lysara's voice answered from within, "Yes, my human. We did." The merged being turned toward the stars. "Now, let's show them what love can create." Then it rose upward, leaving behind a world reborn, and the silence of gods who finally understood what even they could not destroy: the human soul. The silence after the storm was unlike any Eli, or what remained of him, had ever known. The air was still, the world beneath calm. The massive orbital ring lay in ruins, its pieces glittering like 1,000 stars scattered across the upper sky. The planet that had once trembled with curses now breathed again, free of the gods that had enslaved it for millennia. And at the center of the ruins stood the being born of two souls, Eli and Lysara, merged in light, no longer separate, no longer bound by curse or blood. The wind stirred faintly around the glowing figure, lifting sand and starlight together. Inside this new form, their thoughts moved like rivers meeting at the same ocean. Eli's voice lived within, human and warm. "Are we still alive?" Lysara's voice answered softly, echoing through the shared mind. "In a way, yes. We became what they feared, a bridge, not a curse." The merged being looked up at the twin suns rising over the horizon. The light no longer burned. It felt like peace. Across the distant plains, strange alien flora began to bloom again, crystal flowers opening after centuries of lifeless sleep. Eli's human wonder filled their shared heart. "It's beautiful, like the world's waking up again." Lysara's ancient sadness melted into quiet joy. "It was always meant to live." The curse kept it sleeping as I once slept. They started walking across the reborn land. Everywhere their feet touched, the ground shimmered with new life. Grass of silver hue, glowing rivers, and tiny orbs of light that drifted like fireflies. The planet recognized them, accepted them. But deep inside, Eli felt the question rising. What happens now? Are we supposed to just live here like this? Lysara's voice was calm, yet there was something wistful in it. "We were not reborn to stay here. The bond that freed this world must guide others. The curse began among stars, it must end among them too." Eli smiled faintly. "Then we travel, together." At their thought, the fragments of the shattered orbital ring began to glow again. Metal and energy lifted into the air, reshaping themselves into a new vessel, smooth, silver, and alive like a living creature. The being stepped aboard, and the ship responded to their touch, humming softly. As they rose through the atmosphere, the world below glowed like a jewel, rivers of gold weaving through fields of light. Eli's heart swelled with quiet pride. "We saved it." Lysara's reply was gentle. "No, Eli, you saved it. You reminded me what love was." They entered space, and the stars stretched endlessly before them. For the first time in ages, there were no gods watching, no chains binding, just infinite freedom. Yet something stirred in the quiet between their joined minds. Eli's memory, faint and distant. The temple. The desert. The first moment he touched her. "Do you remember what you said to me?" he asked. Lysara's laughter, soft and musical, filled their shared heart. "You woke me, human," he smiled through the memory. "Yeah, I guess I did." The ship drifted among the stars. Their shared consciousness expanded, feeling the faint heartbeat of distant worlds, forgotten colonies, and old Ilaran ruins. They felt the whispers of humanity scattered across galaxies, unaware of their ancient origin. Eli's voice grew thoughtful. "We should tell them. The truth about where they came from. About who they really are." Lysara's voice turned tender. "No, they must find it themselves as you did. Discovery gives meaning to existence." He agreed silently, yet one emotion remained, longing. "I wish I could see Earth again." "Then let us go home," she whispered. As the ship glided through the darkness, the stars shifted around them, bending to their will. They crossed wormholes and nebulae like walking through dreams. At last they saw it, the blue marble of Earth floating in the void, gentle and alive. Eli felt his heart ache with recognition. The forests, the oceans, the same stars above it, it was home. But he also knew he could never truly return. He wasn't just human anymore. "We can't go down there," he said quietly. "They'd never understand what we've become." Lysara's reply came like a soft breeze. "Then we will watch from above. Protect them from afar. The gods are gone, but danger never ends. There will come a day when they need the truth." He smiled within her light. "And when that day comes?" Her voice was almost a whisper. "Then they will hear our story, the story of a human who touched a statue and woke a queen. The being turned its gaze to the stars. Their merged body shimmered, slowly separating into two shapes. Lysera and Eli once more, but now both glowing faintly, made of starlight and warmth. Eli looked at her, smiling softly. "So, this is goodbye?" She stepped closer, her golden eyes shining with something that felt like forever. "No, this is eternity." She reached out and pressed her hand over his heart just as he had done to her long ago. "Your soul carries mine. Wherever you go, I follow." He took her hand gently. "And wherever you shine, I'll find you." Their hands glowed brighter, fusing for a final heartbeat. Then Lysera leaned close, her voice soft enough to blend with the wind of the cosmos. "Thank you, Eli," she whispered, "for waking me, and for loving me." Her form dissolved into 1,000 golden lights that drifted into the stars. Eli stood there, silent, watching them scatter across the endless dark. A tear rolled down his glowing cheek, shining like a comet's tail. Then he turned toward Earth, his heart full, not of sorrow but of peace. In that vast silence, her voice returned. Faint, warm, eternal. "We are written in the stars now, my human." And as his ship sailed through the night, leaving trails of light across the galaxy, every world it passed whispered the same words, the same legend. He woke the queen who dreamed, and their love changed the stars.